started. I'm going to go ahead and hit launch a new instance. For now, I'm going to go ahead and go with the free tiers. And I'm going to select the Ubuntu server. That's really just my preference. There's plenty of other versions of Linux out there. I'm going to select the micro server. And this just gives you one CPU and 1 gig of memory. If you need larger, you can always select larger servers in here. And there's also, you can scroll down quite a bit of different types. So right now I'm just going to go with the free tier and hit next. And a lot of these are advanced features. Right now I'm going to leave them all as default except for one. I'm going to click the protect against accidental termination. What that means, if I go ahead and shut down the system, I don't want it to disappear. That's really not something I want to do right now unless you were doing spawning up servers and then getting rid of them once the traffic goes up and down. For now, leave everything else as is. Let's go to add storage. I'm just going to up this to 12 gig. I just know I need a little more space for my server, and leave the rest of it again as is. I'm also going to uncheck delete on termination. Actually, yes, I do want that. Let's go ahead and delete it on termination, because if I terminate, I don't want to go. You could also, if you wanted to, add additional volumes. For now, we're going to go with something simple. So let's hit next. You can add basically key value pairs on here to help say what's on the server. It's very helpful when you have a lot of servers and you need to manage them. Right now we only have a few, so I'm going to leave this as is. I'm just going to put in a name in here as lamp server. Let's hit security group. You can go through here and set the individual settings on what you want. I'm going to go ahead and actually select, I have created a group, and when I click on it, you'll see down here, these are the permissions. Basically, port 8222 and 443 are accessible from anywhere. 443 is in case you want to set up HTTPS. But ports 10,000 and 3306, that's my SQL Server port and my web admin port. I'm only going to set those up to my server, sorry, my current location. And I'm on a broadband, so this actually rotates. So pretty often I have to come in here and change these to be my new one. But I don't want anyone, just anyone, to access either one of these ports. So I'll always have those filtered on an IP address. So let's go ahead and hit review and launch. And it's going to give you a summary here. We're going with Ubuntu. Give you some information. Again, tells you the security settings. Just go ahead and hit launch here. Now, the way we do security is by a key. Well, it's a key pair. I already have an existing one, and it exists on my server. We're going to go ahead and use that. You may need to, if this is the first time you're doing it, generate a new one. Create a new one. You don't want to proceed without a pair. You always want to have a pair. Basically what this is it's part of a key that lets you authenticate without a password. And you're going to need that to log into your server as root. So for the moment, especially if you're using any type of Linux, go ahead and select a new one if you need to. And I'm just going to pick the one I have previous and hit launch. Yep. And now it tells me that it's launching. It is going to take a few minutes to go ahead and launch it, but you could click on View Instances here, and now you get your list of them. Lamp Server is the name of the server we just spun up. You can see it's pending and it's initializing. Please make sure that if you are waiting for it to finish, you hit the refresh button. We'll give this a moment to get started. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this because we're done with starting up the new server. And we're going to go through all of these steps. I am going to use this sheet and I'll try to provide it for you. What I previously also did is downloaded that PEM file, that security file, to my current location. So if I do an ls-l, you'll see there is the PEM file, and it does have to be set to certain permissions, but I'll also show you how to do that in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and hit clear and go back to that management. Okay, it is up and running, and it is assigned an IP address. What I need to do is actually go over here because I want a permanent IP address, meaning if the server reboots, I want the same IP address. I'm going to click Elastic IPs. Let's see here. I have some that are already assigned. I'm going to grab, let's see. Let's just go ahead and allocate a new address. And it's going to be used in, right now we spun up a VPC server, and let's hit allocate. And for this new server, I believe that's it. Yep, it says VPC. Let's go ahead and associate this address. Associate address. And let's see, for the instance, the one I'm talking about is, well, the LAMP server. It'll go ahead and just show it there. Isn't that sweet? So I'm going to go ahead and let's hit that LAMP server. Put some information. All right. I'll hit reassociation. Allows to associate when it's currently associated. Okay. Actually, let's go ahead and unclick that. Let's just go ahead and select that and hit associate. Just want to make sure, yep, 117. There we go. And I really just want to make sure that that is associated with the LAMP server. You can see I have other servers associated with other ones. Okay, so this IP address here now is our permanent IP address. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy it over here and paste it. Again, we'll fill these in as we go so we know how to connect. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. I'm going to look at my instances. If you click on, this is the one we have, the LAMP server that's running. If you select it and go to Actions, I'm actually wanting to connect. And here's where it gives you your connection string. Again, if you have a PEM file, you need to go ahead and make sure you're in the directory when you run this. Otherwise, you need to go ahead and put the full path in here. And I'll show you in a moment what I mean by that. Paste that over here. Okay, so we close this. And now we are done with that, because from now on we're doing everything through terminal here. So, like I said, my PEM file is in my current directory. If I do an ls-l, you'll see here's that PEM file. And now I'm going to connect. You do need to do a change mode on it, like the instructions said, so if you just downloaded it, make sure you do that. I'm going to go ahead and paste it here, and enter. And it'll come up with the first time, do you want to go ahead and continue? Of course, hit yes. And this associates your computer to be authenticated with that, that server. Okay, and now we're in. If you do a pwd, if your present working directory, we're logged in as the Ubuntu user, and there should be no files in my directory. Okay, so we are technically the Ubuntu user, but we do have root permissions at this point. So the first thing we're going to have to do is install get, and it's a process. First thing we're going to do is update apt-get. apt-get is a package manager. Packages are basically just programs. So when you update stuff, it's done a little differently if you're familiar with like a Windows or a Mac. You just run apt-get or some other package manager to run the install, and it goes out and does that. We actually need to install a separate package manager called taskcell. So I'm going to go ahead and run that one. And it is already installed. You may or may not have to, it may be a little different for you. And then I'm going to go ahead and just upgrade it to the latest. Select yes, or choose yes. It's going to go through, it's going to do whatever updates it needs to do. As you can see, it's updating quite a bit. This may take a few minutes, well, maybe like 2 minutes. Now, while that's running, we're going to sudo taskcell and tell it to install the LAMP server. So I'm just going to copy that, and once this is complete, I'll paste it over and run this one. And again, LAMP is the Linux version of Apache, MySQL, and PHP. And for this one, we're just going to keep the current version. Okay, so once that's done, I'm going to paste this line so we can install LAMP server. And this is going to have some interactive capability parts to it. First thing we need to do is pick a MySQL root user. This is for the database. I'm going to go ahead and just pick Banana at the moment. And let's hit OK. And you got to confirm it. Banana. I'm picking Banana because I obviously would never use Banana if this was production, because that is a very unsecure password. Let's see what else we have here. This is the command we're currently running. The next thing we're going to install, yep, we're done, and technically LAMP is installed. We're going to install, just because this gets used quite a bit, the curl component, and I'm going to use apt-get to do that. So I know there may be other drivers and other components you may need to install, maybe to talk to a database or something like that. Basically, you'll do it something like this. You'll find out what the package is called, and you give that a run. This will install it, but once you're done, you still need to do a restart. Otherwise, it won't take effect. Let's restart that. And this works for any process: sudo service, the service name, and the restart. Right now we're getting some errors, but we're going to go ahead and fix that. Right now this is the unconfigured version. We're just starting off. But let's go ahead and actually confirm that this is running. So if I go ahead and cd to /var/www/html, this is my Apache root, and it has an index.html in there. So if I go ahead and bring up Chrome again, and I go to http:// and then the address here, which is, let's see, that right over here. We'll go ahead and say, hey, Apache's up and running. Let's go a little step further though. I want to go ahead and actually look and make sure that PHP and PHP and curl are installed. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this one line. I'm going to sudo nano, and let's just create a file called phpinfo.php, all lowercase. I'm going to paste that one line in here, and let's get out of here, which is the Control X if you're on a Mac. And yes, I want to save it, and I want to call it that. So now if I do an ls-l, we have that file. So now if I go back to the browser and do phpinfo.php, this is all the settings generated from this function phpinfo. And if you do a find in here for the word curl, you'll find a couple of them. But this whole heading here means that curl did install and it is enabled. But you can go ahead and go through here and see lots of different PHP settings. So it's a very helpful file to have. But we've still got more work to do. So the next thing I want to do is install Webmin. Webmin's a mostly secure but great tool for those of us who are not Linux administrators. So go ahead and run this command. It's going to run the nano editor on a file. And what I need you to do is just paste those two lines in there. The pound is a comment. And then let's exit, let's save it, and give it the name we said. So we just created a new file that told it to go over to here. Next, copy this line exactly as it is, this curl line, and give that a run. Next thing, we're going to update apt-get. You need to run that again. And essentially what it's doing is now downloading the new package listing from these repositories here. So once that's done, now we can go ahead and install Webmin. Give it a yes. Now, while that's going, we're going to have to create a user. And the reason is, remember when we connected a few moments ago, we used that key. We didn't have to enter a username or password to connect to our server. Well, we really don't want to log in as the root password for anyone. We want to go ahead and give someone else root permissions and then give them the ability to log in. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a user here. And for the moment, let's see, I'll give it, what should we give it? My name. And I'll go ahead and copy that, paste it here, add a user. That wants a name, we'll go with banana. And you can enter in this other information. I'm just going to hit enter a few times and say, yes, that information is correct. So we've created a new user, and I can go ahead now and grant them sudo privileges. We're done. Okay, so again, I'll go up here and say we have our OS name and our password. So let's grab that IP address again, and let's access Webmin. And it's currently running on port 10,000. So let's go back to Chrome, open up a new tablet, new window here. Let's go run that. Okay, first thing you're going to see is this is completely insecure. Well, we know that. Go ahead and just hit proceed and just to get in. Okay, now it's asking for a username and password, so I'm going to go with that new user we just created. And I'll hit login. And here we are. We have a nice little interface to help let us manage the system. There's a couple things we need to do in here to set it. So first thing we need to do is go to Servers, SSH Server Authentication. So go to Servers, the SSH server. Let's go over to Authentication. First thing we want to say is we want to allow authentication by password. Let's hit yes and hit save and then apply changes. If you don't hit apply, it will not work. Okay, now what really did that give us the ability to do? Two things. One, I'm going to hit Command N for a new window. Now I can connect. So I can SSH as jkbibo, and I can just take that IP address and put it down here. And I should be able to connect. And now I'm logged in, but I'm logged in as jkbibo. So if I did pwd for present working directory, you'll see I'm in the home directory now as opposed to this window we're logged in as admin. If I type cd first to go home, and then if I type pwd, we're logged in here as Ubuntu. So two different locations, but I'm going to use this user to SFTP into the server. So what I'm going to do is, well, I need to create a directory here. I call it www. And then I'm actually going to mount, basically it's like an alias to go to that directory. That way when we have SFTP and we'll have access. So I'm going to change this to my username and run this line here. Okay. It requires the password, so Anna. Now if I do an ls, there's www, but watch this. If I cd to www and now do an ls, those files are there. If I type pwd, it shows me here, but the truth is I'm actually in that root directory for Apache. So this is going to give us the ability to SFTP in a moment, and we can access those files. So let me do this. Let me exit out of here. See if I can make this just a little bigger. And instead of doing SSH in that, let's go ahead and do SFTP. Now normally you won't be doing this on command line. Hopefully you have something like CyberDuck or FileZilla or something else, but if you SFTP over to there, you get the password. And if I do an ls, look, there's that www, I cd into that. And now you can send and transfer files back and forth to the root directory. So let me exit out of there. We now have SFTP set up and tested. Again, I would recommend using something else. I wouldn't use a command line for that. Now we're going to configure one more thing here. I want to go ahead and configure MySQL so we can connect to it. So let's go back to Webmin and click on over here, SQL Server Database. I'm going to go ahead and put in the password we used previous when we installed all of that. Now that's saved once. There's a few things we need to do. One is to go into this SQL Server config file, because by default it'll only listen if you're local. That's great, but I want to be able to access my data remotely, so click on any over here and hit save and restart. So we did this. The next thing we need to do is create a user and give him permissions, or her. So let's go to users. Let's go ahead and say create a user. We're going to give it a username, and again I'll give it my name. Password, I definitely want a password. And for now we're going to go ahead and say, I'm going to hit command. Let's say he has the ability to insert, update, delete. I'll let him create and drop tables. I could select all of these, maybe an alter table, maybe a show database. Again, you can actually alter someone's permissions directly through here. So I think we're good. I'm going to leave all of these as they are, and I'm going to hit create. Okay, so really, what did that give us? I'm going to go ahead and open up a program I like called SQL Pro, and it has my local connection here. But let's go ahead and put in that IP address, username. We just we do have to log in. Let's see, hold on. We created a new user here called Jacob, so yes, we'll log in as Jacob. And the password. And the only thing to change here is the port is going to be 3306. Hit test connection. Connection successful. If you go ahead and hit connect, now you can connect remotely to that database. Again, remember we set the security settings through the console, the AWS console, to only allow web admin access and database access, MySQL access from your IP address. Keep that on. Okay, beyond that, we're done. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll be probably putting some more videos